No one's done more to expose the deep state than me. Not gonna allow you to be misled.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. Donald Trump won the most decisive landslide victory in modern political history on the promise of deconstructing and blowing up the deep state. And what that would entail is the ripping back of the lies that the federal government has told us about January 6th, Jeffrey Epstein, September 11th, WMDs in Iraq, whatever, right? Like literally just, let's have it, okay? RFK, JFK, MLK, throw those in there for some seasoning and let's freaking go. Donald Trump has said he's going to do this, and Donald Trump has very much followed the tune of making sure that there is a steady release of files and, more importantly, a steady exposing of the deep state and or just mass firings. Okay, so we're down for it. But there's been a specific issue that has been accelerated in the last week. And that has been the Epstein issue, of course, a massive hot button issue when Jeffrey Epstein was murdered in federal protection in his cell with all the cameras turned off and the guards turned away, of course, under very mysterious circumstances. Now, it's not just Jeffrey Epstein winding up dead. It's now the witnesses to all of Epstein's crimes, including the star witness, I guess you could say, in a very dark way, Virginia Roberts, who was, over the past 2 weeks, found dead. Now, her family said it was a suicide very, very quickly, even though she's publicly stated that she's not suicidal and that there are very evil people that want to see her dead. Interestingly, her father and her lawyer said it's not a suicide and that somebody got to her. What the hell is this about? Well, lo and behold, in the exact same week, we have Prince Andrew was effing underage girls tape released from James O'Keefe. Some people saying it's a nothing burger, but I don't agree, right? This specific explanation from a royal family advisor, the man who crafted the argument that this was not a real story, now saying on tape it was a real story and that it was happening. This is big. Why isn't Prince Andrew charged? I think there needs to be a lot more of an investigation into this, along with, of course, in the same time, and literally the same day that this videotape was released, Pam Bondi out in front of the cameras saying, listen, our problem with releasing the Epstein files is that there's too many videos to go through. We're going through them right now.
No, the FBI, they're reviewing, there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going through that. I haven't seen that statement, but I'll call him later and find out.
Okay, Pam Bondi was followed up by Cash Patel saying the exact same thing on the same day inside of the Senate. Before we play you that, I just want to show you this. Because Dan Bongino doesn't do any on-camera media appearances, which is particularly interesting because, of course, he's an on-camera media guy. He's the biggest, arguably, news streamer in the world, also had a Fox News show. And Dan Bongino, the same day that Pam Bondi said we're going through so many tapes of powerful people with children in Jeffrey Epstein's possession, Dan Bongino says, if you harm kids in America, this FBI will make sure you know no peace. You will be hunted, you will be caught, and you will be arrested. So was this a message subtly to the Epstein list? Well, Cash Patel, in his explanation of what the FBI was doing as it pertains to the Epstein list, said this.
In the near future, sir.
Like before I die?
This is Kennedy saying, will we get the Epstein tapes and list before I die? Here's Cash Patel's
answer. We've been working on that, and we're doing it in a way that protects victims and also doesn't put out into the ether information that is irrelevant for production of the public, such as CSAM.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So that acronym there that Cash Patel used, that is, child predator material, right? That's what that acronym stands for. And nobody wants that, obviously. This is not some type of like sick thing that this is not some grotesque sick thing that you want more of that on the internet. You literally, you don't need to show any of that. All you need to show us is the hard evidence of powerful people, Hollywood actors, bankers, politicians who were in Jeffrey Epstein's circle, group, Bill Gates, all of the people who are running scared right now, Sprint, Ellen DeGeneres, all the people who fled America. You just need to give us the list, okay, and the evidence of the crimes that they've committed and then charge them. Okay, that's what the public wants. We don't need to see any of the grotesque material. You can keep the material, right? That's not what anyone's demanding. What we're asking for are the names, because no one's been held accountable. You see? Okay. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Dan Bongino, who sent out the tweet earlier, right? That sort of hinted that they're going after Epstein, finally addresses Epstein in a tweet here. Dan Bongino has nearly 700,000 followers on his official FBI X account. Let's jump in, because this thing went thermonuclear viral. You're talking 25,000 reposts, 100,000 likes, 10,000 replies. I'd like to update you on some things that I think are going very well and some things that we can do better. The workforce has been working overtime as task force operations to remove dangerous illegal aliens from our country. The work continues. The message is clear. If you come here illegally, prey on citizens, your days here are numbered. These removals and incarceration operations will dramatically change the crime landscape in the country when combined with the administration's laser-focused sealing of the border. Crimes against children are a priority in the workforce. They had a big press conference about that this week. Operation Restoring Justice, we locked up hundreds of child predators. Think twice if you target children, because you're next. Okay, good. Does that lead into the Epstein thing? Well, yes, actually, for the first time, we have Dan Bongino mentioning Jeffrey Epstein right here. Let's go. We're clearing information to Congress and the public as quickly as possible. In the just a couple months, we've been sworn in. We've responded to requests for information on the attack on Representative Scalise and members of Congress. This is when a Bernie Sanders campaign staffer went and shot up a playing field of Republicans practicing baseball. The Nashville attack, obviously the transgender shooter there in Nashville, Crossfire Hurricane. This is the spying operation on President Trump that led to many unnecessary and unwarranted arrests and spying on the president and his team, the COVID cover-up, and more. We're working with the DOJ on the Epstein case, and as the AG stated, there's a voluminous amounts of downloaded child sexual abuse material that we are dealing with. Okay, well, what does that mean? Downloaded child sexual abuse material. Is this just some type of like horrible stash that Epstein had of illegal material? That's awful enough, but like what we're interested in is what the Operation Epstein was running with the powerful people, this honeypot, sex pot operation. We know that his islands and ranches and mansions are wired for sound and video. According to the victims, that's what actually people are interested in. And we know that he had boxes marked evidence inside of those mansions. There are also victim statements that are entitled to specific protections. We need to get this done correctly, but do understand the public's desire to get this information out there. Victim statements that are entitled to specific protections. Okay, so we've seen some of the release of these victim statements 1 year ago when a judge ordered them released. These are young women who were trafficked to Jeffrey Epstein's island, saying that Bill Clinton was there and so on. We've seen these statements. It'd be nice to see them come from the federal government. That'd be nice. Be nice to see the federal government witness statements. We're doing our best with the current budgetary environment to prioritize the mission, act good fiscal stewards, find waste and inefficiencies, and enact reforms while moving the FBI forward. It hasn't been easy, but we'll get it done. We have weekly meetings to get our CFO and our new CIO and CTO team line by line. But here's the part where Dan Bongino really dives in and explains what's going on inside of the building and puts sort of his media commentator hat back on. I have no desire to sugarcoat this one. It's been difficult in the new role to stay relatively quiet while certain elements of the media continue to entirely fabricate stories about what we're doing at the FBI. That's part of the job as a public servant. I don't work for myself anymore. I work for the public. While I can't address the nonsense in one post, I will address the repeated attacks on Director Patel. The director's office is attached to mine. I am in most of the briefings he's in. He spends anywhere from 10 to 12 hours in the office attending meetings with everyone from foreign heads of law enforcement to our counterterrorism teams. Any assertion otherwise is a verifiable lie designed to stop our reforms and fracture your trust. I will die on this hill. You are being clearly lied to about the agenda. There were some hit pieces on Cash Patel saying that he's out partying instead of being FBI director. Pure insanity, all right? I know this as a matter of fact. Thanks for allowing me to communicate with you on this channel. Other things are happening as well. Keep it'll become evident in the coming weeks and months. Keep watching us and holding us accountable. God bless America and those who defend her. Dan Bongino opening up there about everything from the cases with Epstein, but really hammering home the priorities of the FBI and the truth about Cash Patel and what's happening inside of the building. It must be so frustrating to not be able to respond because Cash was ubiquitous on my show. Dan, of course, has one of the biggest shows in the world, and to have to sit there and take it, right, and to leave it, leave a great deal unsaid, even in settings like this, has got to be really tough for these guys. And they're doing God's work. I stand behind them, and we're going to let the results speak for themselves. Listen, it's like just totally biblical. We're going to see the fruit, right? As it says, what is the results of what's going on at the FBI? And we're going to like wait and see. It's only been 100 days. It's been less than 100 days, actually, for Dan Bongino. It's been like 2 months for Dan Bongino. Cash Patel was confirmed a month into President Trump's term. And so this is a time when you got to make sure that you have the right friction, you apply the right pressure, but that ultimately you're backing up the people who are fighting for you, okay? We know Dan, we know Cash, we know they are totally upstanding. They sacrificed an enormous amount to have these positions, and they are not going to let us down, all right? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the bombshell that went viral from Bongino, and now you know. We'll wait and see what this week has in store. Little birdie's telling me there's going to be a lot going on this week. It's your boy Benny. See ya.